Recording.
Marmalade bow.
Do some ASMR coffee pouring.
Macron.
Are you using your breakfast pasta water?
I'm sure that's a joke, but I had to read it like 4 times because I was like, it's like, oh, gross, that wouldn't be good. And then followed by, why are you brewing it like that? And then also breakfast pasta.
Is it good? No.
Art.
No, this is like the panties anime.
Oh, I was looking away.
Yeah, it was just like, here's a girl's panties.
Was it
We clearly missed out.
What was the name of that show? Panty and Stocking?
No.
That show's actually good though.
Okay,
Anyways.
I've not seen it. So there's this site called Animelon that has like it does like subtitles.
Say
like
no more.
It does good subtitles for like learning Japanese and watching
okay.
anime.
That one.
But
right.
it's made me aware of an anime called How Many Pounds of Dumbbell Can You Lift?
Oh my god.
It's like a slice of life, maybe ecchi anime. But
Oh geez.
That's very funny.
yeah, I have not watched it, but the name is so good.
Oh, I can't even find that with that name. There's how heavy are the dumbbells? How many kilograms of dumbbell can you lift? There it is.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Oh geez. Yep. That does not look safe for work.
Yep, comedy, ecchi, slice of life, sport.
Wow.
Yeah. How many kilograms of dumbbell can you lift?
The summary of the last episode ends with, afterwards, Hibiki weighs herself. Once she sees the results, she leaves in a very happy mood.
Well, I'm glad. It's one, kind of a spoiler. 2, I'm glad that it goes well.
Because it's 69.
What?
Her
weight.
The number on I've had a few days where my weight on the scale is 84.2 kilograms. I'm like, 84.20 because it does go to the tens place. I'm like, I could just stop right here.
Or you can go for 74.20.
Yeah, that's actually like my goal is around there. So
And then you go to 69.42, and then you just add the 0.
That's yeah. There we go.
Anyways,
we'll see if I can get that low.
That's a little too low for my height, but
I don't know. So 69.
It's like 153 pounds.
kg. Okay, yeah, that's.
For me, the ideal is around like 170.
I'm trying to get to 165, but I could theoretically I could get to 150, but that would be pretty lean.
I have much farther to go than you do, but 150 from where I am now sounds uncomfortably skinny to me. 180 is my actual goal because that sounds like I don't know. Without some padding, I would be a little uncomfortable, I think.
Yeah, especially in winter. All right, should
we time dot is?
Yep, 45, 40, 40. 40?
Sure.
40.
I fucked up because I was like, wait, am I recording? I might have gotten it right. I don't know.
It's fine. Don't even worry about it.
It looks 1, 2, 3.
Yo,
5 seconds.
You only record once.
Yeah, no, that's 5 seconds. I think that's actually maybe the most perfect 5 seconds I've ever done.
Wow.
You're welcome.
I think this is going to be an interesting episode because Pat and I are both sleep deprived. So
Nice. I'm okay. I timed my first cup of coffee perfectly to like
69.
I'm going to be riding
Golden Boy.
Hell yeah. I'm going to be riding
those
caffeine right into the episode.
Oh,
Words.
Sick. Bubblegum Crisis.
I actually know that one.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it. I don't know if I've heard that it's good or I've heard that it's bad.
I've heard it's weird.
There is so much anime from the 90s.
Oh yeah.
In the same way that there's so much everything there's so much media from the 90s. Because I feel like that was like the apex of media being like, Zoid's one of my favorites. Media being affordable to create, and like there being a lot of creative talent, but so much of it's not very good. Wow, they just blew right past Zoids.
They're only like 30 seconds at most. Yeah.
Zoids didn't get a full 30 seconds. There's no way.
Probably not. Okay, let's start this the baby.
The way you phrased "baby" there was a little disconcerting.
I didn't know. I couldn't decide what I was going to say there.
I don't think of every episode as my baby, so
you don't have. I'm sorry.
I probably do.
Toss the podcast water out with the baby.
Toss the podcast water into your coffee pot
in the morning.
All right, let's get started.
Oh yeah.
Hello and welcome to episode 122 of the Gaming Fyx podcast. I'm your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite breakfast pasta. Joining me today is Pat.
What is the best breakfast pasta?
It's whatever your heart tells you it is. Like, you don't want like a ravioli, because that's probably got something savory in it.
Because there's breakfast ramen, right? Like, that's pretty.
Is there? I've never had breakfast ramen.
I have definitely been told in the past that it's pretty common to have ramen for breakfast, but you would know better than me. So
if you're like out all night at karaoke and then like
that's a different thing,
train, and you stay up and then like you're like, okay, it's 7 a.m. and we get some breakfast ramen. Maybe I've
fry an egg over some pasta.
I mean, I do that all the time.
That's just carbonara.
I do that with
pasta.
I do that with ramen all the time.
And our sweet egg boy today, Alex.
Hi, I was holding off one hell of a sneeze while you were talking through all that.
I could tell that. I was like, you're either very disgusted or there's a sneeze in there, and I figured it was the sneeze.
So I Googled breakfast ramen, but first I fucked up and just Googled breakfast.
Already thinking about the morning.
Yep. There are recipes on the internet for breakfast ramen, but
sure, you could put breakfast anything in, and there'd be recipes for
it. The earliest like ramen places open is like 11. That's like brunch at best, early lunch. So I don't know about breakfast ramen.
I'm enjoying a delicious mint chocolate Soylent for my breakfast this morning, which would probably be really disgusting over pasta. But hey, if you wanted to carb up this already high carb because it's designed as a meal replacement beverage, you could do that.
Okay, so what if you took Soylent and cooked rice in it?
Ooh. It's like a rice. Would that end up like a rice pudding? You get like a rice pudding type of thing, wouldn't you? I don't know.
Yeah, crush up some Oreos into that.
I was prepared for whatever you said after what if you took Soylent to be revolting, but that was worse than I was thinking it would be.
Oh, the texture,
Hell yeah. All right. No, I'm trying. No, wait, I can't. Soylent is illegal here.
No, it's legal there now, I think.
Oh, it is?
I'm pretty sure. Last I saw it, maybe it's illegal again, but it became legal there a few months ago.
It's the trade-off. You get Cadbury cream egg, or you get the Kinder eggs, but you don't get Soylent. And America gets Soylent, but not Kinder eggs.
It was illegal in Canada because of a labeling issue, I believe. Like they had to produce specific labels for Canada because Canada made them do something like put like, this is not a meal replacement on the thing that's like literally marketed as a meal replacement or something. I don't know. It was something where they had to like start producing specific Canadian stock because the labeling was not appropriate.
Yeah, it looks like it is available here. Anyways, Happy episode 122, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we made it finally. The big 122. No podcast has ever made it this far.
Nope. Not on May 23rd.
Oh, that's a dangerous statement. I bet there's a podcast that released their 122nd episode on a May 23rd.
This one,
I would almost bet money on it. There's so many podcasts. Like, just take the number of white people in the world and then multiply that by 3, and that's how many podcasts there are. So
there is a shortage of podcasting mics and like webcams on the internet because everyone's stuck at home and starting a podcast. So
I have another friend that is starting a podcast and told me that he wants me to come on.
Wow.
And do they listen to this podcast?
They have in the past. Yes. He's not really a big video game guy. Okay. We'll allow it, but he has listened to show support in the past.
Okay. Well, speaking of support, some of us,
there's two ways this can go.
Yeah, I know, right? We can. So we all at least touched both the games we're going to talk about. Some of us touched these games more than others.
And
where do we want to start?
Some of them touched us more than others.
I mean, we'll get there.
Show me on the computer where the game touched you.
Yeah, directly on the
let's start with Crucible, the hottest new release from Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon Studios.
Yeah, what's the name of the actual studio that made it? I forget.
Oh, it's like Riptire or something like that. I actually have it up in Steam. It's Relentless Studios.
Oh, okay. Close enough to Riptire.
I mean, start with an R.
Who's Riptire Studios, and they're kind of like an Overwatch-ish thing, and that'd just be
exactly
name of an Overwatch move.
Their logo, Relentless Studios logo, is like funny because they are part of Amazon.
Yep.
They're like an internal team, and so their logo has like the prime, arrow in it, but it's like twisted into a figure 8. And made to look like it's like
infinity.
Yeah, it's
a little weird. Yeah,
I mean, it strikes me as the kind of branding that someone at Amazon would slap on an internal studio for sure. Yeah, I don't know. This game.
So what's Crucible? What do you do? What is it?
It's a hero shooter. And it's not very good. We should say that up front.
So it's like Day of Defeat.
I wish it was like Day of Defeat. Man, that would be good. I love Day of Defeat.
Same.
No, unfortunately, it's more like I'm trying to think of one of the litany of hero shooters that's very bad.
Battleborn.
Paladins.
Yeah, Battleborn's a good point of comparison for sure.
Hey, Rurouni Kenshin. Sorry, that's not what it's like, but in the background.
It's not like Rurouni Kenshin.
Anyways, maybe the less said about Rurouni Kenshin, the better.
No, Crucible is a hero shooter where you have an enormous roster of 10 characters. Where each of the characters has a set of abilities. They have unique weapons, and the game modes are focused around like completing objectives and kind of, in theory, combining your team's abilities to put them against the opposing team, and it creates like interesting situations like you would get out of a game like League of Legends or Dota, but with a more action focus, closer to something like a shooter.
Yeah.
And the only reason I don't draw an Overwatch comparison is because aside from like control method, the Overwatch is a Team Fortress style game. It's also a hero shooter, but this game is trying to go in a more, to me it feels anyway, like it's trying to go in a more like MOBA direction with
Paragon.
Yeah, Paragon is actually a closer touchstone than Overwatch, even though Paragon was actually a lot like Smite, which one of the games that we've mentioned that's not true. Overwatch and Team Fortress are good, but like Smite is the good version of that, right? Like Smite has grown into being like, I actually played Smite last night. Smite has grown into being like a really, really, really good game over the years.
Yeah.
I don't think Crucible is going to grow into much of anything.
Yeah, in my notes here, I have it written that I don't know if it's going to last much more than 6 months.
I think that's a good guess. It's
Amazon backed. They can drag this out as long as they want.
And I think that's
they can, but if there's no one playing it, then who cares?
Yeah, and I think that's the more interesting thing to watch with this game actually than the gameplay itself. When I first started playing it, I was interested because I like the characters are really generic. Like they could be pulled from any number of others. This is a problem Paragon had too. They could be pulled from any number of other action shooters with characters. They're not, they don't have a lot of personality. The voice acting is not good. No. The art design isn't great, and I don't think it looks that good. I kept seeing people talking about how the one thing that's got going for it is great graphics. I don't think they're great.
They should see the hives when those show up. The
I know they're very bad.
Terrible. Yeah, it looks a little grungy. Like, and I don't know about you guys, but on my system, it doesn't run particularly well.
It runs fine for me, but I'm kind of throwing like a lot of horsepower at a game that really shouldn't need much, and sure. I don't think it's optimized well either way. And I think the reason that I even tried to get into it is because the one thing that I like about it is, the two things that I like about it are, one, I like the concept of a lot of the character kits, even though they're not particularly balanced or well executed. They have interesting diversity in terms of like, oh, you have your generic soldier guy who's boring, but then like the minigun guy has a passive tree that you can spec so that his minigun is always charged up a little bit or whatever. And some of that stuff is interesting. My favorite character is she can switch between using like a pistol and a sword. And you can spec her to be more melee focused or more range focus. But the problem is that the kits don't really have any balance. And then the other thing that I like in theory is the game modes are focused around like PvE but also fighting players. Like you're ultimately going to have to beat other players, but there are PvE elements in the environment to level you up, which is how you level along those passive trees.
Yeah, it's interesting. At the end of the match, you don't really get to see stats during the match. Like you can't hit tab and look at, people's KDA, but it does break out how much quote unquote essence people have gotten, as well as how much damage they've gotten. Essence
just being XP.
Yeah, XP that you use to level up, which you can get from killing the equivalent of mobs.
Yeah, the problem is that the AI, the environmental enemies or whatever, the mobs are boring and they don't. Yeah. There's like some that stand in one spot and shoot at you, and then there's some that run at you and they're not good.
Some that float.
That's true. And so then
it's Anthem.
If BioWare said we're launching, if BioWare Apex Legend Anthem, it would be the Crucible for 100% for sure. The art Crucible? Style is similar enough.
So it'd be also Destiny.
Well, that's the other problem. The name of the Crucible is not good because Destiny, which is significantly better game than this one,
and significantly more popular,
called the Crucible. Yeah. So yeah, it's unfortunate because early on I was excited about the premise because I really liked Evolve. Back when that game existed. And I really like the concept of like a shooter that is more of a shooter that has MOBA elements to it, because I like MOBAs and I like shooters a lot. And I think both of those genres have gotten pretty stale. Mm-hmm. I still enjoy League and Dota and Smite, and I still enjoy Modern Warfare and Overwatch and other shooters, Day of Defeat, but I think that both of those genres, from a multiplayer perspective, they're both pretty out of gas in terms of ideas. And so I was kind of excited at the prospect of another game trying to do that thing. And it's another game that just misses the mark, basically. Like it just doesn't hit.
One of the things that kind of pulled me towards it was it almost seemed Monster Hunter-esque in some ways, in the way that like you're kind of grouping with your team and like taking out big
yeah, they market it that way for sure.
Yeah, so that was definitely interesting. I wouldn't say the execution on that is particularly great, because like sometimes you'll get big clusters of those mobs, those creeps, however you want to think of them, and like you probably can just take care of them on your own with whatever character you're playing. If you
they're very easy to kill.
Yeah, like if you just kite them, like you'll be fine. And like that kind of leads me to one of my big problems with the game, and that is communication. Like the only way to communicate in this game is via pinging. There's no voice chat, there's no text chat, which, you know, that's a choice, I guess, if you want to avoid abuse within your community. That's totally fine. However, it means more often than not, you just kind of have to look at where your team is and kind of follow them, or hope they follow you, because like if you're not all in the same place, the map is enormous. Like it's super big. Like if you're going to get from one end of it to the other, it's going to take you several minutes, probably maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, but that's enough time to like, you know, miss an entire skirmish.
Right.
But yeah, so like if there's like a big cluster of enemies and you're like, oh, let's go take care of that, get some XP or essence, then you kind of have to ping it. And if no one's, the ping system's also kind of bad in that like it doesn't really bring anything up in the other people's UI that like flashes and like says like, oh, look at this. It like shows a little tiny icon for about 5 seconds, then it just kind of disappears.
And it's especially frustrating because I think the one interesting wrinkle in this game's gameplay, outside of the character kits being fun but ultimately pretty shallow when you because of they're not very well balanced and because the passive trees are so limited, the one other interesting thing that I thought was fun was sort of strategizing on, because there's these random events that happen. So you'll be in the middle of a match and it'll be like, okay, well, now damage amplifiers are dropping, and so you pull up the map by hitting tab and you can see that in the northwest corner of the map there's a damage amplifier dropping, which will give your whole team a buff. So one of the only things I found as being particularly interesting is like strategizing around fighting over those, like getting those buffs. And if you can communicate with your team and say, hey, I'm going to go up and grab that buff, just stall them and don't engage hard until after I activate the buff. That could be a way to make the game a little bit more interesting. The problem is you can't really communicate that. You can ping the buff, and then everyone thinks that they're supposed to run there. And I guess you could ping the enemy and then you could run there, but then it still doesn't really effectively convey, hey, I want you to stay here and fight and not die while I go get the buff, and then I'll join you and we can win the team fight and push for a hive. When like that could be interesting if that were there as an option. So I don't know. There's certain things about it that I think are better than stuff like Battleborn, in that like one of Battleborn's problems is that it was, in my opinion, too fast. It was trying to be like kind of like a MOBA, but like certain characters moved really fast and fights were over really fast. Whereas I like that in Crucible, there's a slower pace to the combat. It's a lot more kind of plotting, and you don't just die in a hit very often. But the problem is that there's so little impact and like no feedback really for shooting and hitting people, and the abilities don't really feel good to use. So it just makes the whole thing fall kind of flat.
Yeah, it also gives you almost no indication when you're taking damage. So there's been many times where I've been in the middle of the fight and then just died, and I was like, wait, what? I thought I was at full health. But
it also doesn't do a good job of like making clear, since there's only 10 characters, there's more than likely gonna, if it's 4v4, there's a battle royale mode too, but I didn't even play that because that sounds like something I have no interest in doing.
I think it's like they kind of have like limited time modes per day or something like that.
There's also a 8v8 mode that I haven't seen pop up when I've been on, but the 4v4 mode seems like the main thing. And so you're going to see like repeats of characters on each team. And there's been a few times when I thought I was shooting at an enemy and it was actually a friendly, and vice versa. Because the outline around enemies and friendlies is so thin that it's very hard to like tell at a glance if you're looking at an enemy or a friendly. So, and I think it has a lot of those problems. And then the technical issues that it has had are just like absurd.
Yes. Those are worth talking about at some point, but yeah,
there's just like, there's errors that are like, it'll give you like a dump of like the script error specifically, but it's not the kind of thing that an end user should see.
It's not like, oh, error code 402378, and then you can go Google it and figure it out.
No, it's like a line.
Here's a line of code.
Yeah,
it's like system.exception. Like, you know, like what you would expect to see if you were doing debug code
exactly
in an actual working application. Like, it's like what?
yeah,
it's bizarre. And also like connecting to it for quite some time was nearly impossible. Like for the first day, I couldn't connect to it at all.
Which is, and that part's interesting because I never had any issues with that, but so many people did. So I don't know what was going on with their servers.
It was Jeff Bezos trying to win you back, Pat.
He's not doing a very good job.
Currying your favor. But I think it was because that specifically was the login server. And once you've logged in once, you're in. Because it's giving you a token, basically. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
everybody was slamming into the login server at the same time and no one could get in. So
yeah. So I don't know. I don't think the game is particularly good. It has had a very poor reception on Steam. I think it's back up to mixed now, but it was at like pretty mostly negative or whatever is below mixed, not all the way to very negative. But
Google says it's got a 6 out of 10.
That seems.
I don't know what that means. That doesn't really mean anything.
That's their you know, what their collation or whatever.
Sorry, please go for it.
This is kind of a conspiracy theory, so don't read into this too hard. But a lot of the when I see positive stuff on Twitter and these positive reviews on Steam for it, a lot of them read like someone was like, go on and put a positive review on.
Like AstroTurfy?
Yeah, they don't read like I'm trying to find there was one in particular, like fun game with a lot of potential. Hopefully it does capitalize on this fast with some good updates that don't take too long.
Yeah.
I don't want to take anything away from the person who wrote that. Maybe it's just someone who's enjoying the game, which is totally fair. I like a lot of bad games, and there are parts of this game that I like. So
I mean, honestly, like, same. But
there's a character with a grappling hook. That's cool. Like
there's a lady with 2 flamethrowers on her arm. That's
she's cool. Fun to play. I don't like her, but she's fun to play.
Her voice acting is terrible, but she is fun.
It's really bad, but she's fun. So yeah, that's the thing is I don't want this game to fail, but it's not. I don't see how. Which kind of gets into the other side of this that I think makes it interesting. I wouldn't have just brought a bad game, but this is kind of the first.
Now, Pat, don't lie.
No, I would not bring a game that I think is bad purposefully just to dunk on it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
We have differing opinions about games sometimes on here, and I'm often left in the cold as the only person who likes a thing, but then that thing is improved over years and becomes a really good shooter in the case of something like Battlefront 2. It's not going to happen with Crucible.
I kind of agree. Like, my thing with Crucible is that it kind of feels like Radical Heights to me. Like, it's not inherently awful, but it seems like they put it out a little bit too early, so it comes across as being like kind of half-baked. Like, it's like there's a little bit more you could have done here. But my main issue with it is, like, to draw an analogy, it's like the foundation of a house, right? Like you can build a fancy house. Like sure, these character kits are pretty good, and like some of the combat can feel kind of fluid, and like that stuff is your fancy house that's on top of a foundation. But if your foundation is made out of sand, like the core gameplay loop is just kind of boring. Like, I think that part of it means that the foundation is always going to collapse. Like it's never going to hold up. So for me, I don't know. Even if they pull it out, even if it gets fully baked rather than half baked, like I still don't think it's going to be fun when it reaches that. But either way, the state it's in right now is not particularly good.
And it's been in development for 4 years. Yeah. So I don't want don't want to be too hard on like the team, but to me, if this is what you've come up with after 4 years, just even polish bugs aside, just from like a gameplay balance and like game flow perspective, it tells me that maybe there's just not the design. Maybe it's not the kind of game that the studio is geared to make, because there's just not a lot there. And I think that's the thing that ends up being the most interesting to me is what I just wonder how this game, if this game was like if teams were told at Amazon, because they have several internal teams from what I understand, if teams at Amazon were told to like pitch games, or if teams were told, hey, here's a whiteboard with 4 different games that we want made, and you can pick one. And this really feels like the latter to me, of like multiplayer battle royale, because it also was a battle royale specifically until pretty late in its development, from what I understand. Which, if that's the way that Amazon is doing this, if they're just like, battle royales are hot now, make one of those. Oh no, I don't think we can catch up there. Turn it into something else. Does not bode well for their future in the game publishing space. And I think it's interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. Like, one thing I was really curious about is if this game was going to like hook into Prime, which it does not, which I think is a good thing. But will it at some point?
It almost certainly will. Well, I think it would hook into, you know, how you can get Twitch drops from Prime or whatever. It's probably going to be that system, which I think that's probably what you're saying anyways. But,
I'm surprised they don't have something already with like the founder stuff.
I'm saying more. You log into your Amazon account, you link your Steam and Amazon accounts. That's more what I was thinking, is like, even beyond Twitch Prime, like this is an Amazon, because lots of games use Twitch Prime, but this is an Amazon Studios game. So if you link your Steam and Prime accounts, if you have Prime, you get the Battle Pass. Prime people who have Prime already get this for free. That's kind of what I was expecting. And that's not in there yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens eventually. And I think that is super icky, because it creates a situation where people are like, well, this game's bad, but I get the battle pass for free. I have to buy the Fortnite battle pass, so I may as well just play this bad game because I get this stuff.
So what if you owned a Kindle and you could play as Margaret Atwood?
That sounds like it'd make the game more interesting.
That's
I wouldn't buy a Kindle though for anything in this game.
Andre, it looked like that broke you slightly.
No, I get it. I'm in marketing. I hear. I'm picking up what you're putting down. What would Margaret Atwood's movement ability be?
Oh, jeez. I'm trying to think of an Oryx and Crake joke or Handmaid's Tale, but I got nothing.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. And I think the other thing that I was reading about this game in the lead up to it launching, and they kept talking about how it's like designed to be fun to watch, and it immediately gave me Evolve flashbacks. And I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go. I cannot imagine watching this game would be fun at all. It's already barely fun to play it for me, and not fun for a lot of people. So watching it sounds real bad. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting case.
Stop trying to make Crucible happen. It's not going to happen. I don't know. I didn't have time to actually dive into it. I played like a little bit of the tutorial, and like I said earlier, Ash seemed neat. The lady with the flamethrowers on her arms.
That's
in terms of like, so each character seems like they have a really great variation in like kit and abilities, I'm assuming, but if it's not actually fun to do any of the stuff, then
they're also kind of imbalanced right now. Like there's certainly some characters that are good and some that are bad. So
which I think maybe one of the characters I was playing seems to be very good. So that may be part of why I enjoyed my time too in the couple rounds that I played, was because I was able to do very well, because the character I was playing is a little broken. It made me want to reinstall, which I only uninstalled it to make disk space, I had intended to install it on another drive, but it made me want to reinstall Paladins and play some of that because Paladins is a much better game than this. But I'm just sort of tired of pushing payloads around. That's the thing. And that's Paladins leans on that too. Paladins is not as much of a clone of Overwatch as it looks because it has a lot of unique ideas, but it still has the same TF2 gameplay modes of like point capture and pushing a payload. And I don't know, I'm kind of tired of that personally. So I'll never get tired of knocking down towers, but I am tired of pushing payloads around.
Well, don't worry, Overwatch 2 is just around the corner.
I'm sure there won't be payloads in that, right?
Probably
it's
not.
all new game modes, right?
The 100% all new. They're cutting out all the old content.
Yep, none of the returning characters.
Honestly, I would probably be more excited about it if it was doing something wild like that. Instead, it sounds like they're slapping a single player mode on or a co-op mode on, and polishing up the graphics a bit, and that's it.
And making you buy the new game for all the new cosmetics and new characters, probably. But
no, actually, a lot of that stuff they've said is rolling back. Cosmetics, I don't know, but it's cross-play between Overwatch 1 and 2. They did say that during their BlizzCon thing.
But if you want the cosmetics, you got to get Overwatch 2.
And I don't know if they confirmed that you'll be able to play the new characters in old Overwatch. So it may be just that you can play against them, but you can't play as them. I don't know.
No idea.
I don't know. I'm going to probably buy Overwatch 2 when it comes out because I enjoy Overwatch. And there was a period of time not that long ago when I would have said, fuck that, I'm not buying that game. But we're in whatever almost month 3 of quarantine, and I don't have anything left. I don't have any fight left in me. If Overwatch 2 is fun, I'll play Overwatch 2.
I mean, we even got you to play Crucible, so
true. True.
Know how to make Pat compromise his morals. Just lock him in his house for 3 months.
So if you had to buy a founders pack if you had to buy a founders pack to play Crucible, I would not have done that.
Yeah,
and I have not spent any money on that game, and I don't intend to.
Nor would I. I don't. What can you spend money on? Is it just cosmetics?
You can buy Battle Pass. There's a whole Battle Pass.
Yeah, right. There is Battle Pass. Yeah.
I will say the legendary skins that they have are really cool. Like they did a good job of an opening salvo of like legendary skins, better than Apex Legends first round of skins.
Have the Apex skins gotten good at all? I hear no one talk about the Apex skins.
They seem like they've gotten better. I don't know if I would say they've gotten good. They had that one skin that was a little there was a Wraith skin that was like, ooh, spooky voodoo Wraith that was like, I don't know if you should do that. It's not really your thing to put on this white or Asian lady.
Sure. Here's a interesting tidbit. On the Steam page for Crucible, if you look at the languages, it's got full audio for English, French, German, Spanish, no Italian. The interface and subtitles are in Italian.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, what's wrong with Italian? You're really fucked up on the eFigs. Oh, let's see. We got
there's no Polish audio
or Portuguese
audio.
Brazilian Portuguese.
It seems like that's a missed opportunity right there, but whatever. I don't know.
Who knows?
It'll be interesting to follow the saga of Crucible. I'm probably going to install it soon.
Interesting that it's only on Steam. We're only on PC right now.
I wonder.
No console.
Yeah, I don't know.
That doesn't surprise me as much as I would have expected it to be distributed through Amazon. Maybe.
Yeah,
sure.
That was another reason that I was like, okay, I'll try this, because which is maybe why they did it. I would not have gone to Amazon to download this game. I would have just said, let it come out and let it pass.
Or Twitch, or maybe even Discord, because Twitch and Discord have done some stuff in the past. I don't know.
Well, Discord kind of was like, okay, we're stopping our game, whatever they were doing. But
exactly.
I think there is a Twitch app, isn't there?
There is.
Curse app.
But I use the Twitch app because it's the best way to get WoW add-ons.
Go to where
because it used to be Curse.
Go to where the players are. I wonder if they could have done an Epic deal. That would have been hilarious.
Man. It would have been great if they put it on Stadia.
Put
this Amazon game on a Google platform.
I bet I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, hey, Epic, you want to, and Tim Sweeney was like, no, no. We're happier. We're happy with Rune 2 over here. No thanks.
Okay, so what dies first, Crucible or the culling?
The culling origins. The culling origins. You don't have to pay to play the Crucible.
Yeah.
Yes. Crucible, not the Crucible.
And Crucible isn't inherently awful, I guess.
No. There are worse games. There are much better free-to-play games, though. That's the thing. And that's going to be why I don't think it's going to make it. And I don't think Amazon is the kind of company to pump money into something to try to get it to be better. I think they're the kind of company to go, well, we delivered the Battle Pass and it's not taking off. Shut her down.
I think Crucible lasts at least through like a few months into next year so it can be on the new consoles. It doesn't need to be on the new consoles, and they'll be stupid if they don't put it on the current consoles. But so I can say, oh, now on PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Yeah,
maybe.
I would be willing to check it out again in 6 months and see if it's better.
Sure, totally.
Like, and if it is better, like, sweet. Yeah, I'll play some more of it. But like as it stands today, I don't know if I'll play much more.
No, I'm not. I'm much more. I picked up Planet Zoo on sale.
Hell yeah!
I'm way more excited to build some zoos than play more Crucible.
Planet Zoo's good.
I'm also playing a lot of Total War Warhammer 2, which is a lot better than the Crucible. Also, so.
But there's something else that you and I played, Andre. I don't know if Pat played it.
I did. Yeah, I have a lot of notes. In fact.
Wow.
Oh yeah, you did.
I took a lot of notes.
I didn't take any notes myself, but I did. I was just like going through the Steam, like new releases, and I kept seeing this game free to play, left on read, and I looked at the images like, okay, there's like one of those text messagey games where you're going through experiencing a narrative. Then after like the third time I saw it, I read the description as like, this is about coronavirus and social isolation. I'm like, oh, interesting. Because like we said a little bit earlier, this is like third month for like North America, the States at least, or Seattle area. We're out of the lockdown nationwide as of Monday in Japan. We'll see how long that lasts, but yeah. So I was intrigued to see like, okay, what is the current media narrative around coronavirus in games? So that was what prompted me to play it. And the basic idea is you're a college student. At times it was kind of unclear. I was like, am I a college student? Am I a high school student? What's going on here?
It took me until they said explicitly blah 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 college. I was like, what? Where? Because at first I was like,
am I from Hogwarts?
At first I was like, man, I don't like these characters, but they're high school students. And then it said they were college students, and I was like,
Then it said they were sophomores, and I was like, oh, it all makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
There were moments where I was like, oh God, I can relate to this. And I don't like that I can relate to this. But also I kind of miss this like text, like one-on-one text exchange. It just feels different now. So I think one of the things that's interesting about this game that I thought was, I don't know, interesting is the word to use, is to pick the dialogue. You're actually like platforming between the messages. That part I actually enjoyed because it can create these moments when you want to pick one thing and then you miss the jump. It only happened to me like once, but I wanted to say one thing and then I missed the jump and landed on another thing. And it did create that sort of like, oh shit, I just sent a message I should not have sent. I wish that I had said something different there.
That's
which was interesting.
Yeah. And should be noted for those who have not seen the video of this or whatever, your character, quote unquote, is basically just the white cube, and you're kind of in the void, and the text messages are taking up most of the screen. Yeah. So
you're bouncing along the message bubbles as they pop up.
Yeah, and there's just WASD controls and a space bar. That's pretty much it.
You're playing some guy who got sent home from college and at the start of the coronavirus lockdown, and you're texting this girl the whole time who is clear basically immediately that you've got a massive crush on, and trying to like, you're like, shit, I wanted to ask her out, but I didn't.
Yeah, and
classic,
now she took a flight
like across the country.
Yeah, somewhere far away.
Different time zone.
Yeah.
And so it's a game about how hard it is to connect with people now. This like across time zones and just like over the internet only.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Purely text as a medium, basically.
Yeah.
It read to me like the thing, I didn't end up liking it that much. But it read to me as the biggest frustration that I had with it was it felt like people writing about a college experience that doesn't exist now. Like it felt like what it was like when I was first going to college, and then brought forward into this pandemic situation. Whereas I feel like I have brothers who are college age now, and for them, like they use video chat and like Discord and stuff all the time. And even people that they know that aren't into video games, they'll like play Jackbox or just play like browser games that are like group party browser games.
Yeah, like sketch.io or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So I think that some of the like agonizing over connecting thing while they were playing, I was just like, in one of my notes says this motherfucker needs to learn to FaceTime. Like it's not as hard to connect as these characters like kind of act like it is.
My girlfriend has been having a hard time with the social isolation thing. She still has to go to work because she works at like a place that deals with medical files and stuff, and our area hasn't been hit that hard, so our lockdown was very short. But like I've been like, well, have you like video chatted with your family or anything like that? And she's like, no, it's not. I don't want to do that. Texting's not the same. And like the lack of, for some people, the lack of any like physical, like actual interaction can be a major barrier.
Sure. And I don't mean to.
But like short, like the day after I played Left on Read, I had a conversation about that with her. It's like, oh, I didn't realize like that. Like, yeah, it can be rough to maintain a relationship via text or video chat or whatever, but like I do not want to video chat like one-on-one with anybody basically ever, except like my mom, because I have to. Love you, Mom. No, she doesn't listen to this. But so I think there is something to like, this is probably not a genuine 100% accurate recreation of what is going on now. But I think there are a lot of people who are struggling with the maintaining relationships, not being like in person, extroverts or whatever, people who feed off that physical presence energy.
Yeah.
Whereas I guess, I'm like, all my relationships are this podcast or like through Messenger, so
I guess I don't want to dismiss people who are uncomfortable with video chatting or voice chatting. That's fair and that exists, but like it just seems like there's ways to interact that these characters are written in a really saccharine way.
Yes.
And I feel like if you are in that position, you could like sync up a Netflix movie or something, like that. Like there's still ways.
But her dad took her Netflix away.
Yeah. There's also like, why wouldn't you send your Netflix login then? Like, come on.
I was like, how old are you?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Is
Netflix away?
A lot of it was like again, not taking it was made. This game was made by 3 people in a short period of time for free. Yeah. So I don't want to like. I'm not trying to like dunk on the developers of this game at all, because I think that they like made a thing that they were passionate about, and that's cool. So I think people should go play it. It's free. So certainly don't think it's like waste of your time. But I definitely at moments I was like, why are you not even like, there was parts that I found cringy in sort of a good way, where it was like, yeah, this is totally something a 18/19-year-old dude would say. And it's not good. But
you know what, Pat? Looking at the Steam page, I believe they're in LA and Detroit.
Sure.
That's where the people are. So, you know,
and
shout-outs to Detroit.
I would love to continue to play stuff that they make, because I think that a lot of the concepts here are interesting. I just, mostly the thing that ended up turning me off in the end, and this is a preference thing, not a deep objective criticism, is that Sakharine, the way that it I love her. I've only just met her, but I love her more than anything. And as long as we're together,
they didn't just meet.
There's a line where it's like, I've only just met her, but she's become my whole world or something, early on. And I was just like, this is not healthy. So that was the thing that ultimately was kind of a turnoff for me. But I mean, it has some sweet moments too. So
yeah,
if you want to play more games from them, you can play VR Party Pack for only $5, or the 7 stages for only $6.99.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I came to it, and the thing that I took away was more like the mechanics of it, because I don't know, that's usually what I focus on. And the control is fine. I mean, it's extraordinarily simple, but one of the things I found kind of annoying with it is, for one, the pace is really slow, but that's probably a deliberate choice, and that's fine.
Yes.
In some ways, it's
tried the realistic mode.
Yes, ugh. I got there, but I tried that. That one was just dumb. But I think the pace is deliberate in that they're trying to convey this is how a text message conversation goes. You're waiting for the other person. You see them typing, you're like, oh, what are they gonna say? That's a real life thing, though. The way
it's there in the name, left on read.
Read,
yeah.
English is dumb.
I left on read. I read it and leave.
Yep. But
you had me at read.
But one of the things I found charming was how your character would start deleting messages and restarting them, or removing parts, and something that was way too grammatically formal, they went back and made informal and stuff like that. But sometimes you'd think they're done typing, and then you would pick one, and then as you picked it, they would delete everything, and then it would just say something completely different. I was like, what?
Yeah, why? It felt very disingenuous, and
I think some of that was intentional, which is sort of a weird pacing issue, where it feels like sometimes they want you to think as if you are the boy, and sometimes they want to make you into sort of a observer who's not really playing any of either of the characters, which
is fair.
It's at frustrating times. It's also interesting at times. So yeah, I thought that stylistically, I thought the deleting and retyping thing was the most interesting thing, probably.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know, overall, by the end of it, after the realistic mode, which is the actual end, I came away pretty cool on it as well. I think it's okay. It's fine for an indie effort made by 3 people. That they threw it together pretty quickly. Yeah, it's neat. It's a good. They came up with a concept and they executed on it. So good on them. But I just didn't think it was. I didn't think it really had anything to say. Honestly. Yeah. Especially with the realistic mode, which spoilers for gag. Spoilers for Left on. I think it's supposed to imply that the girl died or something from the disease, and then you send this message and it gets delivered and never gets read.
Oh no. It's not that. It's that you wait in real time for the messages. You have to leave it running for 16 hours.
Oh geez. So does another message come through?
Yes. The messages keep going, but you have to wait it takes days to complete, because you have to leave the game running and send a message and then wait hours and hours and hours.
Worse. That's way
I'm
worse.
pretty sure it's the same dialogue. I don't think it's different than the base, the normal game.
Yeah.
I thought it was trying to go for a message of realistic because she died, and I was like, that's pretty stupid.
That's okay. That's even worse in my opinion.
This game is people are clearly playing this game to get the achievements because that's how Steam is. And there were people that were like, how do I get the realistic one? And I saw a thread that someone said you had to wait.
You can just get the Steam achievement unlocker and just unlock them.
No, you gotta do it legit.
So I don't know.
The main reason I brought it up was just because it's one of the early examples of coronavirus representation in games. And people are making lots of small stuff. A friend of the podcast, Dante Douglas, made a small thing. I can't remember what it was called. But
I need to play his. Yeah, it's got a long title, but it sounds. Again, I don't want to dunk on this team too much, but it sounds a lot more interesting to me. And I happen to really like Dante's writing. So I think I'll probably end up enjoying that one a little bit more. But I think it's worth bringing up because...
Was Dante's game Sakuya Izuyoi gives you advice and dabs, Nitori Kawashiro offers you advice in exchange for cucumbers and eats the cucumbers?
The title is closer to that than Left Unread.
Okay.
It's called All Things Equal. I would prefer if we were safe and lonely instead of together and afraid, but I cannot deny that it is hard, or A Solitary Spacecraft.
Oh, that is more similar than
yeah.
Yeah. So that's Left Unread.
It's free. You can play it if you want.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
Steam.
But I do think it's interesting that this is going to be an event that is a defining moment for a lot of creators. And it's going to have, you look back to, there are artists that the conflict in the early 2000s was such a huge moment for their careers and who they are as artists. And I think that this event is probably going to be the thing that's like that for generations of creators that are just now finding a voice.
Totally. I mean, look back at the 2008 recession. That was something that had a huge impact on a lot of
absolutely
a lot of media came out of it. Or I for some reason fell down a YouTube rabbit hole of theme parks, and the 2008 recession totally changed a lot of theme parks like Universal and Disney, but also smaller ones like Alton Towers in the UK and stuff like that, where suddenly they had to come up with creative ways to still keep people coming to the park that were really cheap because the world was in a recession. And all signs are pointing to probably a recession out of this whole event too. So it's going to be interesting to see how that spurs on creativity and the things that'll come out of it.
And if you look at something like Cart Life, I think I mean, we don't think about it that much day to day now, but Cart Life was actually a pretty influential game that did a lot for indie games and is still a game that you see kind of having ripples in a lot of current indie games. Sure. And Cart Life is a game that is very much born out of the 2008 recession. So I think that's totally accurate, and it's going to be interesting to see what the Cart Life out of this pandemic is. And I think there's going to be more than one probably. And so it's going to be interesting to see the cynical way that a lot of AAA studios warp and use this event. And it's going to be interesting to see what indies do with it from a more genuine standpoint, I think.
Yeah, and I will say this comes across infinitely more genuinely than the emails I get to my, the corporate emails I get that say oh, we're all in this together. We've all been affected by this profoundly. It's those come across as marketing copy. This comes across as
we'll get into some marketing copy a little later.
I didn't like Left Unread, but I think it's earnest, and I appreciate that about it. And I think a lot of it is. I think there are going to be people, and clearly there are because it's getting good reviews on Steam. There's going to be people that play it and go, "Holy shit, this is really affecting to me," and that's great. I would certainly not take anything away from those people.
Yeah, if someone hasn't played Gone Home, this is their first kind of narrative-y kind of thing.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, maybe this is a gateway to other things like that.
One of the things that actually stood out to me that took me out of it was the way they speak, because they speak in short English, you are, two letters for your, and GN for good night. I'm I stopped doing that like by the end of high school.
Yep,
like,
same.
Maybe the Gen Z kids or Gen Z college students are doing that, but
I don't know.
It didn't seem
when I talk like that now, it's to a very specific group of people and it's to troll them. So
yeah.
Though to swing around back to the actual game, one thing I did appreciate, and I think it was kind of the message it was trying to go for, is that, you know, after 60 days of texting with someone, it's like, how do you come up with something interesting? You can only say what movies have you watched a certain amount of times before it just gets old. And like, I felt like that part of it was pretty accurate and interesting.
It had little moments like that were good. One of the things that really I struggled with is I feel like the girl on the other end of the conversation was very written kind of stereotypically in a way that I was a little turned off by. But I will say that she has some really clever jokes that I won't spoil for people who want to play it, but there are some really clever moments that I thought were very funny. Not very funny. And they were funny.
It's April Fools.
I actually liked that one as a, like, that's the kind of thing college kids would say to each other. I think if it was like, these are people in their 30s texting back and forth, I would probably have found it a little more problematic, but given that they're college kids, I don't know. I didn't think that was particularly offensive, and I thought it was funny enough. I don't know. It's worth playing. It's short. I will say that because of its pace, by the time I was about 2/3 of the way through it, I was like I have in my notes, for something so short, it feels like it drags, like quarantine. This never ends. Because the latter chapters are very slow, and I was really ready for it to be done, because I was like, I get what you're saying. Not really for me, but it's probably for someone, and that's great. Can we just be done now?
Well, that's leafed on read.
Yes.
Now I'm thinking about it. I think I've always thought of it as left on read and not left on read. It's like whenever someone like says like, oh, she left me on read, I always think read instead. Maybe I've never thought about it until now, but that's just what came naturally, is left on read.
This is your Phoenix Down moment.
Yeah. Grammar. How does it work? But yeah, so that's it for our game discussions this week. I was going to talk about Alien Isolation, but then I had a weird bug where I dropped down like a vent, and then my mouse stopped letting me look around. Like I could walk around, but I couldn't like turn or anything. So maybe I'll get back to that. That's a good for bug. Now, I don't even know how. But we're gonna hop into news now, and our first bit of news is an Alex special.
Hell yeah!
Tell us about the Indie Obscura experience.
I don't know if they ever,
Expo.
I don't know if they ever,
IOX.
I don't know if they ever gave the X an actual, proper name.
Xplay.
Yeah, Xplay. Oh my god, XSplit. I don't know. What are other gaming X words? Anyways, it's
xylophone.
Extreme.
Extreme indie games.
Yeah, so we've talked about the IOX before. That was the little kind of Nintendo Direct-ish kind of thing that was, I don't know, a month or so ago.
Sounds
somewhere around
March.
Yeah, I don't know.
April, March.
Time is an illusion at this point. But yeah, it's like, basically think of a Nintendo Direct where you're seeing a bunch of different games, but it's cross-platform, it's all indies, and it also includes interviews with the people who are making the games. So they did that last time. I thought it was really great, super exceptional. Like, I loved it and would recommend it to anyone. And so the fact that they're doing another one is pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Ooh. And when is that taking place?
They've just announced that it's in production. They haven't announced the date so far as I've seen. So they're reaching out to indie devs and getting it all put together. So I assume once they have all their materials, that's when they'll start. They'll give it an actual date. Okay.
So as far as we know, not part of Jeff Grubb's Summer Games mess.
Maybe not directly, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I've tried a couple of the indie games that came out of that, and they were pretty good. So, and they're ones I wouldn't have heard of before.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Maneater just came out. Wasn't that featured in the iOX?
Yeah, and Later Daters came out on Switch. So.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
we'll be dating late into the evening or something. I don't know. All right. Well, I'm gonna get back to some favorite topics of the podcast here.
Oh no.
Back to id and Doom Eternal. The hot topic on the past few weeks, like the past month, I feel like we've been talking about this game in the news.
I feel like we didn't actually talk about this part of it though in our news. Our news coverage
last week, didn't we bring it up?
I don't think we did. I don't think we did.
Huh. Interesting. Well, so maybe this all happened this week, didn't it?
I think it happened like shortly before we recorded, and
maybe, but I feel like this all happened within the last week. But yeah, so we have been talking a lot about anti-cheat with regards to Valorant, a kernel level anti-cheat specifically, the like Ring Zero. I go back like 3 episodes and listen to Alex talk about why he's not stoked on Ring Zero kernel anti-cheat stuff.
Sure.
And recently, Doom Eternal received a patch that put in some anti-cheat, which is Ring Zero kernel level. Yeah, Denuvo is a new anti-cheat.
No, Denuvo's been around
stuff before. But their anti-cheat stuff is new, isn't it?
I don't know.
Like their DRM stuff is the infamous and like that, but I believe this is one of the first implementations of the anti-cheat stuff. I could be wrong.
I don't know if that's true because I thought their DRM was anti-tamper. So I think it's actually the same thing.
But they would always pull the DRM out after like 6 months.
Yeah. Either way, it's Denuvo. Like I'm pretty sure it's the same thing we've seen in like Ubisoft, and like I think Evolve had Denuvo at one point. Anyways.
Maybe I'm not entirely sure, but that was my understanding was this was like a new, but yeah. So Doom Eternal patched this in sometime within like the last week or two, and immediately was met with just a immense amount of backlash, people asking for refunds on Steam, and they were getting them even though we're long past the refund window if you got it at launch, and if you'd like played the full game and stuff, people were still getting refunds because of this. And now a few days after rolling it out, they said, okay, we're going to take it out within like the next week. Just like,
it's interesting.
What do you okay, that's a choice.
It's bizarre. For one, I don't know why they need Denuvo. Like, Doom is mainly a single player game, and
to protect the sanctity of their asymmetric invasion mode. I don't know.
Yeah, but that isn't ranked or anything. Like, it's not an esport. Like I think that kind of anti-cheat is fine for something like fine is a strong word. It's justifiable in something that has like a ranked scene or like professional tournaments associated with it, you know, like stuff where people are actually earning real world bucks out of the game, like your internationals or your league world WCU, is that it? World Championship, whatever.
World Championship Series, WCS, or
that's what it is.
LCS, the LCS.
Yeah.
League Championship Series.
But I don't think, just inherently, I don't think a hugely single player game needs that. I mean, no. I'm looking at some previous games which have used Denuvo. You have a lot of single player stuff. There was Middle Earth Shadow of War. There was Total War Warhammer 2, which Pat has talked all about. FIFA 18, a bunch of Ubisoft stuff, Hitman 2, Final Fantasy 15. Like, so there is a precedent for single player games. Up at your back. Total War Warhammer 2 also had Denuvo. But anyways, like I don't see why people are freaking out about it, because like, yes, I think Ring Zero kernel level shit is bad, like full stop, but Denuvo is also a known quantity. Like, it's not new, it's not something malicious. Like, it's been put through its paces, it's been around for 6 years. Like, I don't know why people are raising a fuss about this one, because it, as far as I'm aware, it's never really false positived.
I think it's worse than Vanguard because Vanguard was blogged about in October and like you were told about it in advance, and it's not a good program. But Denuvo, this was added after the game came out, right?
And that suddenly,
that choice is very bizarre.
That's the problematic thing to me. It's like if Riot hadn't said anything about Vanguard, and then it was just like, hey, this has been installed with an update, so just know it's there now. That's like, and if you had paid money and now you can't access the thing you paid money for unless you just accept that it's got this access, like that's where it seemed shitty to me. I think you're right in that clearly Vanguard is a far more flawed program than Denuvo. But yeah, it was the like out of nowhere being like, it's here now. That's where I was like, fuck that.
In a lot of ways, that should basically be, it should be like an opt-in or a consenting kind of thing. You know, like it should be a TOS, like something that you're saying, like,
especially,
I accept this.
Especially because most people are not going to touch that multiplayer mode.
Yeah, and
if they had done it,
if
they had done it like the original Doom, and they were two separate executables, you just put the anti-cheat on the multiplayer one, maybe.
I mean, in sort of talking about this Vanguard stuff, I have come around to even the notion that, you like when you launch Crucible, even it shows you very briefly that easy anti-cheat is loading up, which is also Ring 0, and is only active while you're playing a game, but it's a program that does similar stuff better because it's been around longer and had more testing, but better stuff, or the same kind of stuff that Vanguard does. And it doesn't tell you ahead of time, like, hey, we're going to install this and it's going to run while you play the game. The only way you would know that is if you recognize the logo when it's booting up. So I think it's probably buried in a TOS somewhere too. But I think with all this stuff, it should be, it's the sort of thing that you can't add after it's the game's purchased unless you offer refunds. And when you're adding this stuff, I don't really have as much of a problem with the concept of Ring 0 anti-cheat software, but you need to be very clear ahead of time that that's what's happening. And even Vanguard doesn't do this well enough. When you're installing the game, you should get a pop-up that says like, hey, this software, this game uses this for anti-cheat. Here are some of the risks that you should know. We've tested it to the best of our ability. But you know, to learn more about this, go here. I have come around to the idea that every game that does this kind of stuff should have that sort of message, sort of like, you know, GDPR policy for websites, and like the like cookie warnings that you get on websites. That should just be happening on games from
that's
that use this stuff.
It's kind of what I mean by the consent and opt-in.
Yeah. And if you buy a game and that sort of thing is added after the fact, they should say, if you don't like this, we understand, you can have your money back. Here's how. If they won't offer some kind of opt-out ability, which if you're allowing people to opt out, there's no point to including it in the first place. So yeah, I don't know. If I don't like, I knew going in that Total War used stuff like Denuvo and other copy protection, so I don't care as much because it's not clear enough, but it's known. But yeah, if it was added after the fact, I'd be kind of pissed.
I wonder how much of this is just blowback from the Valorant stuff.
Probably. And
yeah,
I think people are learning about it for the first time, like what it actually is.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, people should be educated. As much as I may be okay with having, I mean, Vanguard, I think, is running right now on my computer, which, you know, oh no, I turned it off. As much as I'm generally okay with the concept because I don't handle a lot of sensitive data, I also think it's good for everyone to learn more about it, because you should know what's going on your computer, even if you are willing to give up certain securities and protections. You should at least know like what is doing that and where that vulnerability lies.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, moving on to our next news story. Terraria is complete.
Yep,
it's done.
Oh yeah.
I've never played Terraria.
It's fun.
Terraria.
I think either's fine.
Yeah, probably.
It's a good game.
It is, and I'm impressed that it's taken this long. It's been out for a long time.
Like 10 years, right?
At least.
Yeah, probably longer than that. I think I probably played that game.
Anything 2011.
Noteworthy?
Really?
Anything? Okay. Anything noteworthy in this final patch?
They did some really cool fucking new systems. Like, there's actually a lot of new stuff. Like, there's a whole luck system that's involved now. Like,
okay.
I don't really know how to describe it because I haven't done that much reading on it. But the NPCs and AI, like, now they have things like, there's things that they like. So you can't just have NPCs that are hanging out in their house that you just, you kind of go to them and just lock them in a room and then they're there. It's like, no, if you want them to be productive members of your society, you have to cater to their wants and needs. Yeah. Which is really interesting, like, just as a concept. There's lots in this update.
I am not clear too on it's like quote unquote done, but it seems like they've left the door open to keep making stuff for it if they want to, like, because they refer to it as, like, it's called Journey's End.
Yep.
But then it says, like, it's the latest content update, which almost makes it seem like the game's done and now we can start supporting it with new things or something. Like, I don't know exactly what it means that it's done.
And if they implemented all these new systems, they're obviously going to have to patch them and keep working on it, because who knows what's going to break or whatever.
And the way this
update, people playing it.
The way this update reads is, this update has been a labor of love, tirelessly worked on by our team over a good while, and we truly feel that it brings Terraria to the next level, to a place where the core game can finally be called complete. Which tells me, like, maybe they're going to
out of early access.
Well, right. Well, does this mean, and I mean this positively, I'm not being critical. Does this mean that maybe they're going to start working on, like, an expansion pack or something? Like, finally be able to charge more than just $10 per person for this game, which has so much stuff in it.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through its changelog now, and there's just so much. Like, there's a lot of stuff in here. Like,
yeah, it's
there's
cool.
Whole new modes. There's, like, basically a creative mode. There's a master mode, which is even harder. There's a golf mode, which looks like it's kind of like desert golfy in a way, but, like, with Terraria, like you're making the world, which is cool. Like, there's atmospheric effects. You have emotes for when you're doing stuff. The world will evolve. There's new biomes. Like, there's just much.
I haven't played Terraria in probably 5 or 6 years. But this makes me wish that I had people that I could be like, let's do this. Let's start a new server.
Yeah, it seems super cool. Like, a lot of new bosses and NPCs, new weapons, full rebalance of everything. Yeah, it's a huge update. Graphic overhaul. Yeah, man, it's actually a really impressive thing.
Yeah, I might install it and mess around with it some. Just even a little bit of, like, single player or whatever. Because I always liked it. I actually have always kind of preferred it to Minecraft, just because I like the 2D plane for this type of game.
It has it feels more dynamic in the sense that, like, it has more like NPC interaction and more kind of goals that you can actually set. Like, Minecraft got there when they added, like, the end and the nether and stuff like that, but this kind of had it from the start.
I feel like Minecraft is a better toolkit for creative spaces, in terms of, like, designing, of just purely playing the creative mode, whereas Terraria is almost more of like a RPG in a sense. Like, it kind of takes the concepts that Minecraft has and makes them into more of a, like, there's, like, loot and stuff to get in Terraria, which exists in Minecraft, but not quite to the same degree. So yeah, I'm interested to check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Next news story. Hackers are compromising the Animal Crossing experience and making it better. They're just improving it for people. This particular headline is about one particular hacker giving Raymond, the cat with the swoopy hair and glasses. Just everyone wants Raymond, and this hacker used a save editor to basically spawn
everybody
Raymond.
I was gonna say
everybody loves.
Raymond?
No, not everyone. Not everybody, but a lot of people.
Does Brad Garrett love Raymond?
No, absolutely not.
Would you say that enough that like some members of Raymond's family find him tiring and full and a little narcissistic and like self-important, but in general,
probably
most people love Raymond?
Most villagers love Raymond.
Every villager loves Raymond.
Every resident, associate resident, administrator, whatever it is.
Does Raymond live in the house like right next to his mother?
I don't know if Raymond's mother is in the game.
Interesting.
But
I'm sure that by now someone has fashioned themselves to be Raymond's mother and already built a Ray Romano themed island.
And Peter Boyle. Rest in peace.
Anyway.
That show was so bad, but had some great people on it.
I actually I don't hate that show. Anyways.
It's gonna be fascinating to see what these Animal Crossing hackers do to the economy of that game, like Nookazon, turnip prices, everything, because like this guy, people were trying to get like Nook Miles tickets out the wazoo just so they could fly to hundreds of islands over and over to try and find Raymond. And now this guy's just like, oh yeah, I spawned a bunch of them, I'm just giving them out for free.
I have a hot Animal Crossing take that largely comes from observing, because I haven't really had much interest in going back to playing it. But
does it have anything to do with the trade of beings?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that by giving this game a deeper economy, and partly because of that, and partly because of people growing up a bit and learning how to do more data mining and stuff and having access to I think a lot of this stuff ruined Animal Crossing. I'm a Jeff Gerstmann. I'm becoming a Jeff Gerstmann. I think a lot of this shit ruined Animal Crossing.
I am with you. I fully upgraded my house. I have not touched the game since, basically.
I don't want to take any, I'm not trying to like to pick on people who are like super into the like villager collecting or whatever, because I mean, how different is it from Pokemon at the end of the day? Like it's video games, and there is a weird human trafficking aspect to it that I think is probably worth a Vice article at some point. But more what it is just looking at this stuff from the outside. The obsessive stuff that I see about some of the stuff is like, I don't like what I'm learning about people or what I'm seeing from people because of this game.
Yeah,
I think that maybe there's a little much there, and I don't know what the answer is, because it's not like I don't know. I think at first the Nookazon thing was like, oh, this is kind of cute, but it's turning, now that it's like kind of devolving more and more, it just feels like a lot to me.
Sure. Also, out of this hacker stuff is Animal Crossing hackers are improving the game. They're like, they can't do it for other people, but they're like changing and fixing menus and making things not take as long. Just that's like, cool. Please, Nintendo.
That's just a genuine cool thing, but also, yes, please, Nintendo.
Yeah. So that's where Animal Crossing at. I'm going to be fascinated to see what happens with all this hacking stuff, and if that changes what Nintendo does, if Nintendo does anything to try and fight back towards it. I don't know what they could do. But
so hackers are doing what Nintendo don't?
Yeah. Exactly.
I also think it's going to be really interesting to see how the perception of this game changes over time, because it seems like it came out and is, relatively charming, and I understand why people are kind of kind of got invested in it early, but a lot of that has worn off with all of this stuff. Like, to me, there's not really any charm left behind the like shuffling of villagers around and the like cold mechanical complexity of how to get specific villagers. It's sort of bled all of that out to me. But there's going to be people, I think, that are very much still like passionate about aspects of the game, and it'll be interesting to see how that evolves over time, I guess.
Like, personally, I don't want to terraform my island. Like, that is like a conscious choice I made. I'm like, no, this is my island. This is how it is. I'm not trying to go and change everything around me. So now there's nothing really for me to, I guess I can just keep collecting stuff, but that's whatever. It's boring.
I think it's worth looking at some. Gita Jackson has written some really good articles at Vice about like, hey, not like this, which have been like, as she's someone who like loves the game a lot and kind of went down some of those obsessive rabbit holes and then came out of them and was like, we might be going too far. And so I think she's probably the person who's ultra qualified to speak on that stuff and has done a good job doing so.
I was thinking about this kind of what this article did, but on Polygon, there was another article about how trying to get all the villagers or get your island just perfect is like driving people kind of like causing them a lot of stress.
Exactly.
Especially in like a time when we're all stuck inside, and like one girl broke down crying because she couldn't get the angle right on like a cliff that she was trying to dig. So she just deleted her whole island and restarted. And like everyone with social media and like the ability to just like post stuff so easily from the Switch, now you're seeing everyone's island, and so you've got this like keeping up with the Joneses.
That's kind of what I'm getting at is I almost think it's problematic in a way that I don't think Nintendo intended. And how much can you really blame the game for that? Because, you know, people have died playing World of Warcraft. How much is that Blizzard's fault? But I also think it's still indicative of a problem. And
if we all weren't stuck at home for this long stretch, maybe things wouldn't be so
totally. It's hard
dire.
To know. Yeah. But when I read that story about the girl who was crying about the angle of the mountain, I was like concerned. It was like genuine, like you should talk to somebody, because that's a deep thing. And in some ways, maybe it's good that the game is surfacing that people maybe have obsessive behaviors that they can now confront in some way. But who knows? I mean, it almost makes me wish that the game had some tools in it to say like, hey, here are some resources.
You've dug and built this cliff 100 times now, and the same spot.
Yeah, totally.
We're gonna fly in a counselor to you. You're gonna watch the entire animation.
And Elijah Wood is coming to your island. He'll make you feel better. Because he'll walk around your island and say, what a lovely island. And but it's interesting to me too that this
or AOC.
Yes. It's interesting to me too that this game is kind of creating. This is not the first game where you could design a social space and have people visit you, nor is it the first game where you can get very obsessive over creating the perfect space.
Yeah, like Second Life.
I mean, well, yeah. And The Sims and Minecraft and stuff. And certainly people play those obsessively, but I feel like the conversation around those games never had the same like kind of dire twinge that this seems to have in some cases. I mean, there's exceptions to that for sure. There definitely are stories about the evils of Second Life out there.
But I think one difference between all of those, like all the ones you mentioned, they're all their own thing, whereas this is the fifth in the series.
True. Yeah.
So people like, even if this is their first one, there's a history to look back on that you can compare it to.
Yeah, which I think is relevant because I think for a lot of us, like I played the first Animal Crossing on GameCube when it came out. Yeah. So for a lot of us, it's been, and I think you tend to see it in the people who are playing it the most obsessively. it's been a sort of like, this game came out right at the head of, it's like a perfect storm of like this, the time this game came out, the age that the player base is, the kind of state of the world prior to the current pandemic scenario. It all has kind of combined to create this perfect storm of like, this game exists to stress you out in an unintentional way that is not designed purposefully. And it's just a very bizarre and interesting.
It came out March 20th, so it's just over 2 months ago. And Animal Crossing is kind of that, it has that pace of you need a month or two to actually get into the real meat of it. Because like you slowly,
but people time travel and
yeah, that's true.
We don't trust those people around here.
We certainly don't. But also, it's interesting because I think that for a lot of people, it has become their game for this year. Like it's the game that they're playing, and they're out of stuff to do, kind of. And it's
they're also rolling stuff out. But yeah,
but it's slower, I think, than a lot of people would like want. Like a new Destiny content comes out and people demolish it in a weekend because of course they do, because that's the way that MMOs have been for a long time. This is a different genre of game to sort of have that happen to it, even though it is the fifth one, because the prior ones just didn't seem to have the same degree of, I got to get everything, I got to have everything perfect right now. And I don't know if there's the social media
aspect.
Yeah, who knows what it is.
New Leaf had a bit of that.
Yeah, but it certainly didn't blow up like this has, I don't think.
No, I would agree.
And so it's weird. It's going to be interesting to see how that game.
It's the game of quarantine 2020.
Yeah, hopefully hackers keep making it better.
Yes. That stuff is just flat out interesting for sure.
Yeah. I am going to be fascinated to see. I've got this story further down the page, but Gary Whitta has been doing some talk shows in Animal Crossing. Did he get AOC on? I believe did she go on his show? Now he's been doing shows with like industry people and just like interesting folks.
Sting is going to be on his show.
And Shaggy.
Shaggy, yeah.
Shaggy
debuting new music.
June 1st and June 6th, I believe.
In years.
Yeah, well, it wasn't him, so that's probably why you didn't think about him. That's Mr. Boombastic. I think someone told me Shaggy was dead. It might have been the same person. It might have been the same person who told me Biz Marquee is dead, and neither is true.
And let's take a moment to say, thank the universe for that.
Moment of silence for Biz Marquee and Shaggy.
I'm very glad that they're still around. They seem like people that in like 2 or 3 years could release an ultimate summer banger for the ages. Like they've just been cooking one for 30 years.
Biz Marquee, last I saw of him, he was doing like a low budget commercials for some program that takes all your like ripped MP3s and like puts the correct metadata on them.
Hell yeah. That sounds great.
Man. So now all my Linkin Park MP3s will be legit.
I've got to find this video and I'll send it to the chat, but let's see.
What's the first song you all downloaded, be it legally or not? Because
Tune Up is the at the ad campaign program.
First song I downloaded illegally.
Mine was Bon Jovi's "It's My Life."
That's extremely funny. I think for me it probably was a Linkin Park song. It was either a Linkin Park song or a Bare Naked Ladies song.
Hell yeah.
It's one of, because those were the two. Those I've always been a big Linkin Park fan and a big Bare Naked Ladies fan, and I remain a fan of both of their early work to this day.
Hell yeah.
Mine was an MP3 of Bill Clinton saying, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman."
Was it actually?
No, but you know how those services were. Lots of like.
You didn't download it on purpose, but that's what you got.
Also, maybe it was probably a Weird Al song.
There's a very good chance too that I downloaded a Tool album and then it was the wrong stuff.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, when you were on your LimeWires and your Kazas, those are full of just landmines.
and Tool specifically attracted a lot of people that would post like, and it was subtle stuff too, like, oh, I downloaded Anima, but actually it's got tracks 4, 6, and 7 from Lateralis on it as tracks 8, 9, and 10. So then later when I had a legit copy of that album, I was like, what is this? These are different songs.
This says "Don't Worry, Be Happy" by
Bobby McFerrin.
No, but it's who's I'm losing my mind.
I know it. Yeah, you're fine. I don't remember either.
I know the famous reggae guy. Yeah, that isn't Bobby McFerrin.
Bob Marley.
Bob Marley. Yes, that's the one. Yeah. Oh, don't worry, everyone. Then that. Like just penetrates the psyche
meat
and everyone
space.
thinks Bob Marley. It penetrates meat space.
It penetrates the meat, and I was like, no, where have we gone?
The meat of your brain, and then everyone
thinking
thinks
of Gary Whitta's Animal Crossing talk show.
Yeah. Piercing the meat of your brain, Gary Whitta brings Shaggy to Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I'm surprised Nintendo hasn't got in on this thing.
Well, and someone else.
Hey, he's trying to get Reggie Fils-Aime.
Yeah,
I thought these two stories were linked, but apparently not. Reggie's no, they're not. But it's like I only read like half of this. Phil Spencer is going to be a guest on Reggie Fils-Aime's Talking Game Show. I didn't know. May 26th.
It's his second episode.
Okay.
I didn't know he did it first. I got to watch this. That sounds brilliant.
Who's on? What's the first episode?
I don't know.
Phil Spencer's a good get.
Yes.
That's two people I want to see sitting down and talking to each other.
I deeply enjoy Gary Whitta's film. Well, okay. Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie. I don't have any, and I mean, this isn't like meant as some sick burn on Gary Whitta. I have no interest in watching him talk to people at all. I would never watch that animal talking show, but I would totally love to watch Reggie sit down with industry people for sure.
Who would win in a fight, Reggie Fils-Aime or Phil Spencer?
Oh wow, Reggie would.
He's way more enormous,
and I think I get the impression Reggie's. I mean, his body was ready in like 2009 or whatever. I bet it's still ready to fucking throw down.
He's take names and kick ass, and he's
I love
still
Reggie.
doing it.
Man, I miss him being that sucks. I'm sad now. But no, I'm really glad that he's doing this show. I will watch it religiously because that Phil Spencer and Reggie sitting down together seems like one of the coolest combos of people. Like the only way to make that better would be to get like Shuhei Yoshida or something to also participate in that conversation and just talk about like
okay. So this is actually really cool.
I was just reading about it too.
So the SoundCloud page. Oh yeah, I was going to say. So the description on the SoundCloud page is: enjoy Reggie and Harold's inside games stories in this fundraising podcast for NYVGCC's nonprofit mentoring. Please go to newyorkgamecritics.com/Reggie to donate. Today, Reggie and Harold talk about beginnings, Reggie's beginnings at Nintendo, Harold's beginnings creating the Circle, and the beginning of our new initiative with Henry Love to help homeless students in shelters with games in the time of COVID-19.
Yep. Yeah, so it sounds like the podcast is actually a charity thing, which
that's awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, for the New York Video Games Critics Circle. So, yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
that's homeless kids or homeless students.
It looks like there's
something to look forward to.
It looks like there's some kind of fundraiser. It's a GoFundMe, a charity GoFundMe associated with it as well.
If this is the kind of stuff that Reggie's going to do, like I hope that it's selfish because Reggie should do whatever makes Reggie happy. But I would love to continue to see stuff like this come out of his come from him for sure.
Totally. Yeah. And I think having Phil Spencer on there will spread the word immensely. So that's really cool. I didn't know that context either going in. So
that's great.
Where's the dog? There it is. Dedu's Day, everybody. Speaking of
2020,
Phil
no
Spencer,
more Dedu.
No.
Dedu's dead.
If you play the Red Lions, Black Lions, Black Eagles. There we go.
You got there.
Blue Lions, Black Eagles. That was like 2 years ago.
Azure Wolves or whatever the fuck they're called.
Speaking of Phil Spencer, Xbox Game Pass is in the news, I guess. Was it Xbox Game Pass was in the news, or was it because PlayStation Now was in the news?
I think it started with Xbox, and then PlayStation Now kind of released the stats a little bit after.
Right. So Xbox has like 10 million subscribers on Game Pass now.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
That's across PC. I don't believe that's Ultimate. I believe that's just across PC and console. There's probably a lot more on console because I think technically the PC only version is like still in beta or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Which is weird.
The Xbox app is in beta still.
Yeah,
on
the
PC.
Xbox, I think the PC Game Pass is full-fledged.
Okay. There's only like 40 games on there or something. That's only. It's $5 a month. There's games you can play. I still find myself barely using it. I need to get back to Ori.
Same. I keep right now I'm not paying for it because I bought it all up front. Yeah. But I would probably keep that subscription had I not done that, just because it is such a great library. But I still haven't played Gears Tactics, which is supposed to be good.
Or that new Minecraft dungeon.
I'm very excited about that. I'm going to play that on launch.
I heard that's very short.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that.
Really?
Short.
That's what I saw Jeff Gerstmann tweet about it, and he's like, "Yeah, we did like a quick look, and then after the quick look, I suddenly found myself at the end of the game."
Wow, that's a huge. Man, that's not what that game is marketed.
I don't know how long they played it, but maybe this is probably something you run multiple times, like a Diablo.
And maybe this is a no offense to Jeff Gerstmann, love him, but maybe this is a Outer Wilds ship computer scenario where there's more to it or something. That seems wild.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Minecraft, it's a game. Minecraft Dungeons, it's also a game.
Game Pass, PSNow.
Yeah. So Game Pass is like 10 million subscribers, and this week Sony had some is it earnings calls? They're detailing some stuff in to investors and whatnot, and they were talking about PSNow. And what I love about this is they actually initially got the numbers wrong, and their back end, they made themselves look worse than they actually are, worse than they're doing. Their numbers were lower in their initial release of these numbers, but PSNow subscribers are at 2 million. A mere 1/5 of the Game Pass, but they more than doubled their numbers from October of last year. So within 6 months, they more than doubled their subscriber numbers to PSNow, which is when they reduced the price, I think, down to $10 a month, and started putting some newer games like Horizon, God of War, I think, is on there now. But they're rotating those games out still. So
yeah, I still haven't tried it, honestly. So
I've
tried it a little bit, and it's fine.
It does sound
not.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, the fact that you can download games now and not just stream them is good. It's been like that for a while, but I think the big thing with that service is that it doesn't have the newest games. So I'm not really, I've probably played it if I'm interested. There's some stuff that I haven't played, obviously, but for the most part, if I'm interested in a game, I'll buy it and play it. So
it does look like Minecraft Dungeons is about 3 hours long.
Oh, wow.
So it's short.
3 hours? That is very short.
It's also, the review I read says it is designed to be played on higher difficulties, and the difficulties start to scale. So it has sort of that Diablo thing of I've been playing a fair bit of Diablo 3, and to be honest, you play the same content in that game over and over and over again. So,
all right. Next news story. I'll be interested to see what they do with PlayStation Now.
I think
they have to change it up, I think. But
if they want it to be a real competitor to Game Pass, what they need to do is make it so that like day and date Last of Us 2 is on PSNow. And maybe it is, I don't know, but that's the reason that Game Pass is so compelling, is because you're basically getting access to every Microsoft exclusive. Like, I would keep paying for it because every 3 weeks I go, I want to play some Sea of Thieves. And then I play Sea of Thieves for like 3 hours and then I don't touch it again for a month or two. But like, there are charming games on that service that you can play whenever, and you're always going to have access to the newest Microsoft games that way. So if PSNow kind of gets to that point, then I would totally subscribe to it and not have to buy those Sony games,
Yeah. I mean, that's how I use like EA or Origin Access, and I'm just totally like, okay, I don't want to buy Anthem for $60. I'll pay $15 and I can play it right now
and feel good about it.
Feel good when I stop playing it.
I think the thing that would blow the entire, like, I don't think PSNow slowly getting better is going to change the player base attached to Game Pass that much.
No.
In the same way that like technically Hulu and Netflix compete, but like you don't hear about like Netflix versus Hulu numbers that often unless you're deep in like business press. But I still think that if Valve were to figure it out and say, hey, we're crafting a Steam access thing that gives you access to this growing catalog of Steam games, that could be fucking wild for the industry as a whole. And I would love to see something like that get super disruptive.
Imagine what that curation would look like.
Oh, I know. I mean, I'm not saying this isn't a prediction. Like, I certainly.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But that would be wild. Because like Epic is kind of trying to do that with the way they're just offering free games forever in a drip feed. But if Valve was just like, hey, we've partnered with a collection of independent and AAA studios to offer 1,000 games as part of a $5 a month thing. Because Valve is the kind of company that could figure out a way to make that work money wise.
Sell hats in every game.
Or just the fact that they have like a shitload of money sitting in a war chest because they're one of the most profitable companies per capita or by like per employee in any industry in the world. So I don't know. That's the thing that I think would be super fascinating to see at some point. Because I think that could finally like push. I guess my point is I don't think PSNow is ever going to really push Game Pass to be even better. Because there's kind of a plateau there, but I think a company like Valve could totally do that and it'd be interesting.
Yeah. If Sony like really leveraged the history of the PlayStation with it, because there's still you can't get like PS2 games, or unless they've been, maybe there's some PS2 games you can play. No, you can play PS3 games. That's what I'm thinking of. So you can play, it's like they get PS2 games on there, they get PS1 games as part of that. Then you could start to see like, people for nostalgia. It is impressive because the player base for PSNow and the player base, maybe the player base is more evened out, but early on, like Sony was just, crushing Microsoft in terms of console sold. I wonder what those numbers look like now. I don't know if
Microsoft I would assume that
said too much, but
I think Microsoft still just doesn't have very compelling first party software. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Microsoft has some really compelling first party software, but it's few and far between. It's not like every release is a really good one. Like again, Sea of Thieves is a great game at this point, but it's not for everyone. It's more niche, and that seems to be how their titles that they release tend to, like Gears Tactics sounds really good. A lot of people just don't like tactics games. Whereas Sony has kind of cornered the market on these huge budget, quadruple A, lush, prestige television style, behind the back action games that are very, very approachable for a wide audience, and that like it kind of fit in the middle of the Venn diagram of everybody will try a game like that. There's nobody I've never met someone who's like, no, I don't play third-person action games.
There are definitely people who are like, I'm over the Sony house style.
Oh, I'm ultra over it myself. I could not be more over it, but I'll still play the next God of War because God of War is really good. So, yeah. I would love to see Sony Santa Monica make a skateboarding game or something. Like, I would really prefer these studios to do something wild and different.
God of Skate 4.
And I think that's where a lot of my cynicism around Sony comes from, is it's frustrating to me that they have arguably some of the most talented developers in the world, and they're kind of having them churn out the same stuff. Like, I kind of wish there was never a Horizon Zero Dawn 2, even though that's one of my favorite games of the generation, because it doesn't really need that. And I would love to see Guerrilla move on to something else. But I'll play it because I love the character and I think the first game's brilliant. So
featuring Aloy.
That would make me more interested in playing Killzone 4.
But she's a Hellgast.
Wrapping up real soon here, but we'll probably have a meaty discussion on one of these two stories. But first, last week we talked about how there was a sudden announcement of a Mafia Trilogy Remaster, and that Mafia 1 remake looking real nice, real sharp. But in the meantime, Mafia 2 and 3 came out this week on the 19th.
Yeah, and apparently they're not very good.
Yeah, they sound like rough.
Yeah, Mafia 2 sounds buggy, and Mafia 3 is just Mafia 3 with all the DLC and like add-ons they did. So, which
is okay. I mean, that game looks decent still. Yeah, it's only from like
years ago. Like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, 3 or 4. And it's good. It still looks fine. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it didn't need a lot. Mafia 2 sounds like the one that's kind of disappointing though. Because that game was like, you could really do some cool stuff if you did some lighting and modeling and texture work on it, and they just didn't really do that. The screenshots I've seen actually look like a downgrade visually from the original, which is weird. Like, they upped the resolution, but then instead of optimizing it, they just kind of like lost a lot of depth and stuff.
They took a 4:3 image and just stretched it out to 16:9.
Yeah, kind of. Not so much that, but like, there's just not as much like tessellation in the textures, and a lot of the models seem to be a little less complex from what I was looking at. So yeah, it's too bad. Because I want to play all 3 of those games after that remake of the first one comes out, because I've only ever played the original first one and a little bit of 3.
In stark contrast, there's been reports coming out about the Saints Row the Third remake, and apparently that is looking exceptionally good. Like, it sounds.
I think it's out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or is it?
I believe it's out. I believe.
Yeah.
I saw some.
Yeah.
It looks a lot better. The stuff that I have heard about from a gameplay perspective is like, hey, that game is a game from a while ago.
From like 9 years ago.
Yeah. I know I played it a couple years ago and was like, I don't like this. But it looks nice, at least, for sure.
Apparently the power Kanye moment in that game, thanks to QA. They said, hey, what if you listen to Kanye for the whole mission?
That's good.
And then they made it happen.
I love that part, and I wish that the game was just that part, and then it ended. But I don't. A lot of the humor in Saints Row is very lost on me. I don't find it nearly as funny as most people do.
Burt Reynolds is the mayor.
That one's pretty funny. The whole
there's certainly moments that are really funny.
The fact that like those the rickshaws just fucking explode.
Yeah, some of it's good.
It always appealed to me more than GTA, just because of the more like frenetic everything's.
I can see
like,
that
everything's very like heavy, kind of like your character just when they fall over and they're running, everything feels a lot more snappy in Saints Row. They're very different games, despite like Saints Row being kind of a parody of the GTA games.
Yeah,
sorry.
I was just gonna say it's kind of a fork of San Andreas, but
I I think that I think both of those games series have some very problematic and dated and just downright shitty writing, even in the newer entries. Like GTA 5 has a lot of that. I think I prefer GTA's style, even though I think, again, they're both not great in a lot of ways. I think I prefer like the story and writing of San Andreas to Saints Row the Third, because there's just sometimes in that game where it's like, I was watching a clip of the remaster right before we started recording because it came across my Twitter feed, and it was like someone like talking really heavy shit about some woman, just like ambient dialogue on the phone, and I was like, this sucks. I hate this. And there's a lot of that. As I was playing it, there's a lot of that. It was like, man, this doesn't feel good to listen to in whatever 2018 when I played it.
Yeah. But Murder Brawl Chainsaw.
Oh yeah, there's elements that are great. That's the thing.
But yeah, it's
very uneven.
Flawed games. Yes, there are certainly issues. But
I like the alien part when you're in the movie and then it's real.
Was that
like the aliens are real? I think it's DLC.
Wasn't that 4?
I'm pretty sure it was 3.
I think it was the very end of 3.
Yeah, it is. It's right near the end.
Yeah.
But you're like going through the movie set, and then there's like a moment where it's like, oh fuck, these are actually real aliens, and we could actually die. Yeah, I like that. That sequence was funny and good.
You got to play a text adventure.
Oh, some of that stuff is really good too. Like the text adventure stuff, the stuff in the cyber realm where you're the toilet is funny still.
Yeah, it is.
Like mechanically, that stuff is not aged well, but there's moments. I think the thing that the stuff I don't like is the like attempts at lampooning the whole like pimps and hoes thing. I think it just comes across as like you're not actually saying anything here.
Yeah, but there's a whole character who's auto-tuned.
And that's funny, but it's leaning on tropes that are like not great. So that's why I struggle with a lot of that stuff.
Very of its time.
So don't play Mafia 2, basically. That's what this all comes back to.
Yeah. Maybe there's there's a rumor there's a new Saints Row game in the works. Wasn't that a thing?
I think they said there is.
They think
okay.
The Volition said they're working on something, and that it was rumored to be Saints Row. Yeah.
I thought that at one point, not that long ago, they just came out and said they're working on a new, because I saw a story that was like new Saints Row is not going to happen until after March 2021, but that there is something coming.
Okay, I might have missed that.
Interesting. All right, well, our last news story has been years in the making. G2A, the online key reseller, has to pony up and put their money where their mouth is and pay Factorio devs Woobe. I don't know how you say this developer name. WUBE Woob Software. I don't know.
Sure.
Silence from the Peanut Gallery.
Woob.
Left on Woob.
So G2A must pay Woob Studios $39,600 after an internal audit.
Yeah, because they were
like
selling
300 and something games, almost 400 games.
Because they were selling illegal keys, as everyone knows G2A does.
Yeah.
Which is why they're so cheap. The idea is these keys are bought with stolen credit cards. Someone gets the key, they get the game, and then someone realizes that there was a fraudulent charge on their credit card, and then the developer has to go through all these chargeback procedures because G2A was not helping with it. This blew up last year. I think.
It's been a thing for a while, but last year blew up.
There were like some very outspoken devs and publishers and people in the industry talking about how bad and kind of predatory G2A is with that stuff, and how they abdicate. They're like, oh no, it's not our fault, we don't do anything like that. That's it's awful. And they said something along the lines of, if we can prove, any devs who want to work with us can prove that we sold stolen keys, we'll pay them back tenfold, or I believe it's tenfold or some ridiculous amount. That's how they got to $39,600 off of like 100 and something keys that they determined stolen after an internal audit because they couldn't come to terms on an outside auditor.
Yep.
I don't know why that is.
Which is usually a good sign that something is going on that one party knows is going on.
So out of, I think still more than 50% of the keys that Woob Studios said were stolen, more than 50% at G2A admitted, we like, okay, yeah, these were stolen and we'll pay you back for all those stolen keys. They are the only studio that took them up on that offer. Everyone else is like, fuck off. No.
I mean, it's probably a lot of work and time for a developer to go through all that shit. Like you're literally like pulling email records and financial records, and for a really small studio that doesn't have the funding to like have people who work purely in administrative capacities to manage all that, it was probably literally people searching through inboxes and for old Excel documents, and it's understandable why that would be the case. So it's kind of shitty for G2A to be like, oh, we'll work with you, when they could just do the audit themselves and see like when you're buying bulk keys from places, like obviously a lot of them are going to be stolen. I don't know. And don't buy stuff from G2A.
And if you like, okay, we'll work with you, you're starting to like lend legitimacy to a site like that.
Totally. Yeah.
And a lot of these people do not want to give them any legitimacy.
I respect Woob going through the process to like make it happen and prove like they knew that it was a problem, and then it was borne out and they recouped a little bit. I mean, $40,000 in the grand scheme of things, who knows how much that actually affects them. I don't know where they're located. That could be like 40,000 USD could be like half of the cost of living for a year for one person, depending on where you live. So
they're Polish.
Yeah. So I don't know what the exchange rate is and what cost of living is where they are. That might be kind of a pittance, frankly, for a studio, but either way, I don't know. G2A, what sucks is that a lot of people don't know. I have friends who, I was talking about some game as being good and we should check it out sometime. And like two of my friends were like, oh, I found it for really cheap on G2A, so I bought it there. And I was like, oh, fuck. And had to like go find the article and explain the whole thing. And they were like, oh no, I didn't know that. I will never buy from them again. But a lot of people just don't pay attention to this stuff, and they just Google the game and like coupon or discount, and that's G2A comes up.
The G2A name used to just be everywhere if you watched esports. Like they would sponsor tournaments and they would, like just have their shit everywhere. So
I believe PewDiePie caught some flack for having a video sponsored by them, and people are like, really? Like, of course, the biggest YouTuber is going to get sponsored by one of the shadiest key sellers out there.
Really shitty YouTuber is going to get sponsored by a shady reseller.
Yeah. The Factorio devs are in Czech Republic, so Prague.
Oh, I thought they were Polish. Cool.
No, but G2A has offices in the Netherlands, Poland, and Hong Kong, apparently. But
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
G2A did play like, oh, well, when stolen keys are sold, it hurts us too. And like, really?
Whatever.
Does it hurt you? I mean, when you get caught and then you would say you're going to pony up 10 times the value of whatever was deemed stolen, then maybe that hurts you a little bit. But you think when you're selling that many stolen keys, $40,000 probably isn't that much. If you can afford to say, well, I'll pay you back 10 times, you're probably doing okay. Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for news today, unless anyone has any last minute things they want to talk about.
That new Scooby-Doo movie came out.
Scoob.
Yeah.
The Warden and the Ponch came out for Warhammer 2.
Oh,
get on it.
What was
rework.
that thing about Nolan has a movie that's going to play in Fortnite?
Oh yeah, I thought that they were just playing Inception in Fortnite, but I might be wrong.
It sounded like there was multiple movies, but yeah, I think it's going to be Inception because it's its 10th anniversary coming up.
Okay.
And then probably like Dark Knight Rises or something.
One surprised that they're putting that movie in Fortnite because it's not really a kid-friendly movie. So it's interesting that I'm kind of glad because I think that the potential for that hangout space to be like a place where you can go watch movies with your friends is a really cool thing. Cause like, yes, watch parties exist on like Netflix and stuff, but this is an instance where you can like have an avatar in the world that is like representative of you and like goof around and stuff while the movie's on. It's cool.
Dabbing.
Yeah. It's neat. So I think it's cool that they're doing that. And I think it's cool that they're playing a movie like Inception that like adults would want to watch. Cause I would totally meet up with some adult friends in Fortnite and watch Inception. Sure.
What if watch Dunkirk in Inception?
What if they did like if they did wild shit with the like environment? That'd be cool.
Extra cool. They won't, but it would be very cool.
They won't.
I mean, cool. You know, if like you go into like the snow part of Inception, like the Arctic base or whatever they're at.
The only reason
like, everything's snowy around you, it'd be pretty neat.
The only reason I say they won't is because having messed around with Party Royale and attended that concert, there's a space in Party Royale that's just a movie screen. So like they had clearly been planning this stuff, and the idea is that you just go there and sit and watch the movie. But it's still, I don't know. I still think that there's some cool stuff you could do with that.
You know what movie I would watch in Fortnite? It's Good Burger.
Hell yeah, that'd be so fun. That'd be super fun to sit and watch, and you put your dumb costumes on and like do Fortnite dances and ride ATVs around while Good Burger's on.
And then you have
totally.
You have giant Kel Mitchell doing the Orange Soda Boy dance.
Hell yeah.
YouTube Orange Soda Boy. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this episode 122 of Gaming Fyx on May 23rd. I almost thought that said May 32nd. I was like, what is going on?
I originally put it in as May 34th, so you're not far off.
May 23rd, 2020. I have been your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite breakfast pasta. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Pat, where can people find you?
You can find me in all places where I want to be found at PJC Plays. And you can find me in the Crucible if I play any more games of that as just Pat, because it just uses your Steam name. So before you play that game, make sure your Steam name is something you want to just show random people.
Isn't that what most games do?
I mean, it's yes, a lot of games do that, but not stuff like Smite, for example, which I also launched from Steam because Smite has a whole account linking thing. A lot of current competitive multiplayer games on Steam are tied into other services, so it does not do that. This is like one of the few that I had played recently, so I was just like, oh yeah, that's just my name. And it was a little I was surprised.
Okay. Alex, where can people find you?
Probably sneezing. That sneeze never came.
Oh no. Well, good luck.
You can find our podcast on Twitter at Fyx Podcasts. You can find us on the internet at fyx.space, where you can find some reviews. We'll have a couple of reviews going up this week, including one from our friends at Super GG Radio going up probably by the time you hear this.
Probably.
Or the day of, Sunday. What day is it for you? Saturday. Yeah. Time zones. It's Sunday for me. I don't know what's going on. What is time anymore?
It's an illusion.
And if you head over to podchaser.com/gamingfix, you can leave us a review, which we would really appreciate. And you can help us improve the podcast.
Yeah.
So thanks for doing that.
Leave us the movies you'd want to watch in Fortnite.
Yeah. Email us at gaming@fix.space. There we go. That's words. Gaming@fix.space with your questions and comments, hopes, dreams, aspirations. What skill did you learn in quarantine? Or what skill did you not learn? I don't know.
There's a lot of those.
I'm zeroing in on 10 pounds lost. So you can improve yourself in quarantine. It's possible.
I've got a nice 2 lost. We'll see.
Yeah, you're starting at a better place than me, though.
Yeah, but I've also been bouncing up between 2 and 1 pound.
It happens. That happened to me for the first 3 weeks, and then I lost like a lot in the space of like 2 more weeks.
I feel like I've maybe you just started the bike stuff after me. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be back next week with another podcast.
Yeah.
So long.
Goodbye.
Bye.